Live from Roswell, broadcasting to you live over the Paranormal Radio Network from sunny Roswell, New Mexico. If you were here with us before this very last break, you were actually hearing a rerun, but now I am officially live for this final portion of the program on April 20th, 2008, with guest Joseph Palermo from St. Louis, who's coming up in just a minute to discuss with us a film he's made on the chupacabra creature, as well as a recent trip he made to Florida to film with Lightworks, a.k.a. the production company behind the History Channel's television series Monster Quest. But if you were really digging that previous interview rerun, though, we have many, many, many of our previous programs archived for you there, just for your listening pleasure, thanks to the miracles of modern technology and the hard work of our producer, Joe Montaldo. And you can hear the rest of the program we were just running by visiting www.livefromroswell.com and going back through my archives to April 4th, 2008, just a couple weeks ago. And you'll be able to hear the last part of that interview with the retro speakers, Ralph Ring, and one coming up with Alexandra Bruce, who will both be where I'll be next weekend. I'm helping to MC the 3rd annual Retro UFO Conference in Landers, California, which is kind of in that Joshua Tree area. I really hope that if you're anywhere near this area, you can make plans to join myself and many others like Adam Go-Rightly and Nick Redfern, Greg Bishop, and Alexander Bruce out there in the sunny desert environment where George Van Tassel built the Integratron years back. And he himself hosted some of the most far-out UFO and Space Brother conventions, which back then drew thousands of people to this very same location in previous decades. The full information on that event is online at www.retroufo.com, and there's also a prominently displayed banner on livefromroswell.com if you have any trouble spelling retro. But once again, I'll be there myself, so I look forward to meeting any of our listening audience in Landers next weekend at April 26th and 27th in Landers. And hey, while you're on livefromroswell.com, I wanted you to know also that I have a link right now posted under Joe Palermo's bio that I think many of our listeners would be especially interested in. It's the trailer for the new X-Files movie that's coming out this summer. It's July 25th, in fact. The article I'm linking to is the first one I saw, but it's going on about how lame they think the title of the movie is. It's X-Files 2, I Want to Believe, reuniting both David Duchovny and Gillian Anderson on the big screen. Did I say Gillian? Gillian. Now, the movie title, it's not totally a lame name, I don't think, but for those who have been anxiously awaiting it, I will warn you, in case you haven't read a lot of the press on this movie in the months that it's been in the workings, that this particular movie does not, in fact, allow, or it doesn't follow the familiar alien conspiracy story arc that helped make the program so famous. The AP reports that the script and the plot are very tightly held secrets. In fact, even the cast is having to read the script in locked rooms with video cameras on them to make sure they don't leak out. But anyway, this upcoming movie is a standalone episode that hopefully they say newcomers will be able to get without actually having been followers of the series. So basically, it's like one of their classic Monster of the Week episodes that also helped to make the series so famous. And, well, speaking of Monster of the Week, I honestly can't think of a better segue for our guest tonight, Joseph Palermo, who is well known as an independent paranormal investigator and documentary film producer, and has himself spent more than a little time unwrapping the most famous monsters of our time, including Bigfoot and the Chupacabra. You can join in the fun tonight. Call us right now with toll-free with a question for Joseph at 877-786-0562. That number's on livefromroswell.com. Or send me your questions via email at talktome@livefromroswell.com. So welcome once again to the program, Joseph.
Hello, Guy. How are you, my friend?
Very good. Very good. You doing okay there?
I'm doing all right. I'm doing all right. It's actually, we're experiencing a very pleasant 65 degrees here in the St. Louis County area, so I'm doing okay.
Hey, you didn't feel an earthquake this week, did you?
You know what? I didn't feel it the way a lot of people did, because I have a trailer, and when I woke up, it was probably 4:30 in the morning or whatever time that was, and it was like wind was hitting the glass of the trailer. I didn't feel any vibrations or shock. I just thought it was a thunderstorm. So I rolled over and went back to bed.
I did that in a tornado once in Nashville.
Really?
Yeah. I was dead in the middle of the tornado almost, it turned out, and I just thought it was wind and storms and rolled over and went back to sleep in the middle of the afternoon on my couch. That's really bad.
But apparently this particular earthquake reminded a lot of St. Louisans of the earthquake in 1968 here. And I was a child, and I do remember that because my niece was with me, and it was during the day, and we felt the house begin to shake, and literally a chest of drawers walked across the bedroom at us. And I'd have sworn the boogeyman was there. I didn't know what to think. This furniture dancing across.
Thus launching your career as a paranormal investigator.
There you go.
Well, it probably goes without saying, but you were probably an X-Files fan yourself, huh?
Yes. Yes, I was. Yes, I was. I remember the excitement that was going on even here in the St. Louis area about this new show, and that it premiered with a UFO or alien show. I don't remember exactly what happened there, but man, I mean that really began the new era for shows like that.
Well, for you, with all that you do, it was kind of probably like watching yourself on television, I'll bet, huh?
Well, it would be nice to have the different perks that an FBI agent would have to get into places, but yeah, kind of, sort of.
Hey, do you think that what I was talking about, the title, I Want to Believe, is a lame name for an X-Files movie, feature film?
Well, it's interesting that you asked that question, because when I write a script, I begin from the title, and the story comes out. So it really depends on what the content of the script is. I don't... does it grab me and make me want to go see it? Not exactly, but, you know, we all know that Mulder did have that poster in his office, I Want to Believe. So, you know, I think if you're an X-File fan, you're going to go see it.
Yeah, X-Files 2 is probably enough to grab everybody to want to go see it.
Sure, exactly.
They could name it Mulder Sleeps Through an Earthquake.
Oh, goodness. And did I hear you right that they actually have cameras in the actors' rooms when they're looking over the script?
In the screenwriter's room, there's an article I've linked from Live from Roswell below your bio, and it has a link inside quoting Chris Carter to the more official AP news story, and they have the cast and the screenwriters actually had to go into this room with one copy of the script, and video cameras were on them. Yes.
Wow.
That's what it said. I'm not quoting directly, but I read it earlier today.
Boy, that is secrecy, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, like you said, you're a filmmaker. You don't want your spots getting out.
Exactly.
So, actually, your film much more involves, I guess, Monster of the Week investigation, too. Most known right now for your Chupacabra research, right?
Yes, that's correct. That's correct. The documentary I produced, the title of it is Chupacabra, The Legend Begins. And
that's much better than I Want to Believe.
Well, and I gave it that title because we were the team that went on the expedition led by Mark Davenport. We were really the first ones from the States, anyway, on the scene about it. And the interviews that we got, we captured the true essence of what these people were trying to communicate. You know, and it wasn't anything sensationalized or anything. Trust me, the facts are wild enough on their own without having to sensationalize them. So, yeah, that's why I chose it, because we were there at the beginning, and we take viewers from the beginning, so they get all the truth that there was to get.
Well, and you recently got some airtime, just as an expert on the creature with another special being that's being filmed right now.
Yes, there is a program being produced. What was the name of that production company? Lightworks. Lightworks KP. They're the ones behind the series Monster Quest on the History Channel. And, they contacted me. First, they got a hold of Mark Davenport because Mark actually still has some hair samples that we collected in the field back in 1996.
I was curious what he actually brought to the film that brought him in.
That was it.
Semi-retired.
He's the man that's got that, and I can only presume there was some conversation about, well, you know, do you have any video of you doing this or whatever? And that must have been where he gave him my name, and one of the producers called me and introduced himself and said, yeah, we're doing this new. He introduced the program to me, Monster Quest, and said we're doing a show completely on the chupacabra, and we understand that you've got video footage from your expedition. I said, I sure do. And they said, well, they'd love to be able to take a look at it. And I got them an online copy to begin with, and then they asked me for a higher broadcast quality, which I had. I sent them that. And then it became a question of, would I like to be on camera? Would I be interested in being on camera talking about it? I said, sure. And part of the reason that they began broaching that subject with me was because Mark Davenport, as much as I hate to say this, the man is dying of cancer. And they weren't sure that he couldn't take a plane. They didn't know if they would be able to get him to New York or San Antonio, where they were first talking about shooting, you know, the interviews. And they asked me if I would be willing to go on if Mark was not available to do it. And I said, of course I would. And they talked with Mark and got his blessing on it. And then, as it turns out, in conjunction with shooting another episode in Pensacola, Florida, near where Mark lives now, they could get to Mark. They had a crew that could actually go to Mark's home. So they made arrangements for me to fly down to Pensacola and be there and to do the interview with both of us. And it was so good to see Mark again and his wife Leah. God bless them. They keep trying. You know, they're there, and Leah is doing. She's just a saint. In fact, Mark always referred to her during the shoot as Angel, and she's well deserved of that name. She is taking care of Mark to the absolute best of her ability, and you know, it was just so neat to be able to see them again. I haven't seen Mark since 1999, and you know, they're just doing the best that they can, and the interview went pretty well.
Yeah, and what is but you're definitely one of the experts in the field of chupacabra research, no doubt about that. Is there anybody you put even higher than yourself, honestly, that you look up to or you want to be, or you want to be like when it comes to knowing and filming or talking about chupacabras?
Well, the two people, along with Mark and I, that would have equal or greater knowledge, one would be Jorge Martin, who is a ufologist from Puerto Rico, and because he's there, you know, he was the one that guided us to the witnesses when we were there on the expedition in '96.
And he's featured in your documentary, right?
Yes, he is, very prominently.
Right.
Very prominently. He's not only the translator, but was able to share some accounts from eyewitnesses that we were not able to get to. He's a great guy. I would love to be able to go back down there. If I get the chance to go back down to do, Legend Begins 2, well, there's a lame title.
The legend continues.
I would hope to be able to connect up with him, and in fact, the producer, as I understand it, this is after the interview process, I got that the producer that had called me was going to be making a trip to Puerto Rico to, I guess, try to get current information on what's going on with the chupacabra. But the second person would be Linda Moulton Howe. She did a spectacular job of reporting on the chupacabra creature back in '95. And in fact, it was part of her running commentary with Art Bell, for your listeners who know who Art Bell is. And that...
No, I've never heard of him.
that actually made me decide to accept the position of official videographer on this expedition. Because when I was told about the chupacabra in November of '95, and this was through my late friend Bob Buck, who was also on the expedition. Through him, because he had gotten a faxed illustration of what this creature was purported to look like, and to me, it looked ridiculous. It looked like a draft for some B-movie horror monster, you know. And I was like, "You've got to be kidding me! This body of a kangaroo, head of a gray, legs that, from eyewitness accounts, could almost be bird-like." It's like, okay, somebody just threw a bunch of props, threw them up in the air, and it landed, and that's what they wound up with. So I got introduced to it through Bob and that illustration, and I was listening on the radio and heard Linda Moulton Howe reporting about it. It's like, well, you know, Linda's usually, you know, she usually is going after something worth going after, and certainly with the animal mutilation, you know, being part of her career, this fell into that, because the chupacabra was, you know, responsible for not just pets, but many agricultural animal deaths. So, and thus the name chupacabra, goat sucker, because the first victims found were goats.
That's the translation of the word chupacabra, right?
Correct. That's the translation of the Spanish word chupacabra, goat sucker. Right. So, so if you see something online that has Jorge Martin's name attached to it or Linda Moulton Howe's name attached to it, I'd pay attention to it.
And did you get to spend any time interacting with her?
No, our paths have not been able to cross regarding the chupacabra. I was privy to watching a video of one of her presentations. I think it was at Eureka Springs, where she talked about the chupacabra. And what was that? There was something in contrast to what she got when she interviewed one of the same eyewitnesses that we interviewed. And you know, right now, I cannot think of what that item was. But there was a discrepancy. I need to go back and look at that. And of course, on eyewitness accounts, you're going to have some discrepancies, because not everybody is going to have the exact same details as it goes. But in general, the same detailed descriptions about, you know, how this creature operates, you know, its MO, what it does to animals. Of course, now there's been the fallacy, and I'll tell you this. This was kind of funny during the interview process. I guess they had about 45 minutes of tape on me at this point, and the producer's saying, "Okay, now tell us about how the animals were drained of blood and how they were attacked." And she's waiting in anticipation, and I'm wincing on camera, going, "Well, that's kind of a fallacy." She was like, "What are you talking about?"
Oh.
I said, "Well, the animals weren't drained of blood. According to the veterinary that did the necropsies on the animals, there were some that had a lesser amount of blood, some that had the same amount of blood, but none of them were drained of blood." And her face fell. She was like, well, shoot, that takes the whole thing out of the story." I said, oh no, you don't know.
We didn't fly you down here to tell us that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so I went on to tell her. I said, "No, you don't understand. That's if the animal was just drained of blood, okay, there might be that, but you don't understand what they found when they did the necropsies on some of these animals. The weirdness is what happened on the inside of the body." And her face, what are you talking about? I said, "Well, for example, Dr. Soto pulled out a rabbit, or told the story on camera about this rabbit that he had. There was absolutely zero outer trauma to this rabbit. There were no puncture wounds. There was nothing. And he went to start the necropsy, starting from the chin, going down to slice it open. And when he opened it up, the esophagus was gone. And her eyes lit up. what? Really? Well, tell us what. So I went on to explain about what the strangeness of the necropsies to her, and I think that's probably what's going to wind up being the shocker on this show. And they've got the exclusive because no other documentaries that I've seen on television have come close to addressing any of what was discovered in the necropsies on these animals.
Necropsy, is that the word for autopsy when it's done to an animal?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
I never had that as a vocabulary word in grade school, but I can use it.
I don't think I did either, to be honest.
I just wanted to make sure, for our listening audience.
Yes, absolutely.
And our listening audience, I always say, is definitely of well above average intelligence, and they've got money to burn. So anybody that has a product, event, or service you want people to be hearing about on this program, just visit livefromroswell.com and click on the link near the top that mentions audio, commercial, and banner ad opportunities. I got my plug-in.
There you go.
You're happy. For the listening audience, a necropsy is when you examine a dead animal, and it's like an autopsy.
Exactly.
Okay, get back to really what you're seriously saying. The esophagus?
The esophagus of this rabbit was gone. The only thing that I could think of was that if, in fact, it was this creature. Now, this is another thing that this show on this Monster Quest show on the History Channel is going to be presenting, is that not all descriptions of the chupacabra are the same. Because one of the questions I was asked was, did I think this was the same creature, or was this several different creatures that were all being called chupacabra? And I said, very astute of you, because there are varying physical descriptions of this creature. Some people describe it strictly as this huge bat. Some people have described it more with dog-like features. Now, they're also bringing into this program the Elmendorf, Texas creature. You familiar with that?
The what creature?
The Elmendorf, Texas creature. There was
it's like a dead possum, doesn't it?
The picture that I saw seemed like a blue-gray canine of some sort.
Mm-hmm.
But not anything like the illustration that we got from the people from Puerto Rico. So you've got people calling this a chupacabra.
And how didn't she?
Yeah. And the problem that we wind up with is people would go out, either morning or night, find their animals dead, and immediately scream chupacabra. Well, we don't know that it was chupacabra. When the producer asked me where all the chupacabra has been sighted, and I said, well, there's been reports from Miami, Florida, and Louisiana, Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, all along the southern coast of the United States, Mexico, as far away as Russia. But what I didn't get to add on that was that I don't know how many of those reports have been thoroughly investigated. So we don't know if, in fact, it would be the chupacabra or not. At least the chupacabra that we're familiar with from the cases in Puerto Rico.
So what proofs do you actually look for to narrow it down to this was not a coyote, this was not a feral cat that was really hungry?
Well,
can you tell markings or anything like that on a dead animal?
Well, the classic markings are the puncture wounds. Mm-hmm. Now, what a lot of people, and I did too, until I really studied my own video work, a lot of people assume that when it's a puncture wound, it's a bite wound. Right. One of the things that Dr. Soto said was there was no saliva around the puncture wounds in any of the animals, or the over 2,000 animals that he had done necropsies on.
They've done autopsies or necropsies on 2,000 dead animals?
Yes, sir.
Attributed to chupacabras?
Yes. All these animals were brought to him as victims of the chupacabra. And that was...
Brought to one guy?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. So that's a hugely, localized number. even to say 2,000 deaths.
Well, but they weren't localized. He was getting he got a batch of peacocks from Florida.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he was receiving animals. Yeah.
They were being mailed to him in addition to what
shipped to him for
his
examination.
area?
I mean, I guess it's kind of like if you want if you need a real serious DNA study, say that you've got a crime scene here in St. Louis, and you need serious DNA testing. They don't have the facilities here in St. Louis. They have to send those to Washington.
Mm-hmm.
So it may very well be that his name got out as being the vet because he wasn't charging anything. He was donating his free time to doing these necropsies.
Oh, okay.
So you kind of establish yourself as an expert in the field, and people tend to respond to that. So, yeah, at least that would have been, let's see, February, March, April. That would have been April of '96 when Bob Buck had gotten that interview on camera with him. And it had been the month before, I think he said, that there had been a 1,500-pound bull brought down by a chupacabra. So whatever this thing is, it has a power over animals. It has an incredible power over animals. Now, you were asking me what evidence, what
right,
I look for to see about that. Well, primarily the puncture wounds, and I look for the eyewitness descriptions. There were some animal killings in Miami, Florida, where somebody had been able to take casts of the footprints, and these were all, I believe there were 4 or 5-toed. The classic chupacabra creature only has 3 toes and 3 fingers. And, you know, we pretty well know if you're looking at something that leaves a print of 4 pads, it's probably a dog or some canine. You know, I mean, we can kind of identify what animal it might be from that. So I look for the evidence that indicates similar creature as in Puerto Rico. If it's not that, you can probably pretty well figure out what did kill the animal. Another weird thing, Mo, is that the animals that are killed by chupacabra don't go into rigor mortis.
Ever?
Ever. There's something, the blood never coagulates. There's some agent apparently introduced into the blood system that prevents the coagulation process. Let's see, what else?
Assuming we're talking about a predator, how would that chemical agent, enzyme, or whatever, how would that benefit the predator?
I don't know necessarily that it does. This could very well be simply a byproduct of what this creature does. I don't know. I mean, one of the theories. Okay, for example, if you're able to picture the surface skin of an animal and a puncture wound, let's say near the abdomen,
mm-hmm.
when Dr. Soto would begin taking the layers of skin away, you trace that hole into the animal, and it suddenly leads to 4 other holes, say in a 1-inch square, beneath the surface of those tissues. And each one of those 4 holes, one may lead to the heart muscle, where there are strips of the heart muscle that have been removed. One may lead to the liver, where strips of the liver have been removed. It's almost like a hole is made in something. Now, this thing is supposed to have a tongue of sorts as well. I likened it to an anteater, but other people have likened it to a mosquito tongue, something that's completely flexible, that once that initial puncture wound is made, then this flexible, whatever it is, can go into that puncture wound and then begin, and I'm not saying this is exactly what it does, but begin drilling, if you will, into the animal to find the organs that it wants pieces of.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering, because I used the word predator actually pretty loosely, I realized a second ago.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like very selectively taking out just certain tiny delicacies or muscles or whatever. One of my listeners says those puncture wounds, it's where they stick the straw in. Someone is listening to the program now.
Well, I who knows? Maybe some of them do carry straws. I mean, don't know. Haven't had any eyewitness accounts to that, but, we're dealing with the unknown, so who knows?
But appears you're saying they don't really, eat the meat of the animal, but they go in and take out little bits of tiny muscles or organs. Apparently.
Now, that begs the question, of course, why?
Yeah.
Why? I mean, if any other predatory animal that we know of is killing either in self-defense or to eat, and neither one is the case with this thing. When they interviewed me, they asked me what I thought it was, and I told them that I thought, well, based on even now all of the reports and statements of fact, observations, if you will, of what this thing does, I'm not entirely sure that it's not some kind of half biological, half mechanical thing that's been created. Now, created by who? I don't have any idea. I'm not sure what kind of studies there would be militaristically or governmentally or any otherly.
Of course.
Any reason that this kind of thing would need to be created and set loose into a populace that only deals with animals and extracts muscle, heart, liver, all those organs, tissues of those. I have no idea why they would do that. I mean, it kind of takes us back to the animal mutilations that were going on here in the United States back in the early to mid 70s. Why are all these cows? And it wasn't just cows. That's why they were called animal mutilations. Linda Moulton House started out her, if you will, paranormal career that way, with her story on I think it was a colt, and I think it was in Denver, Colorado, where she was working for a television station. She did a story on that, and then got flooded with letters from all over the country about other animals that had been killed and mutilated in a similar, and they were all in the same fashion. But it was cattle, it was horses, it was dogs, it was cats, pretty much anything with four legs. And now we see this, or we saw, I'm not sure how much things are still going on in Puerto Rico. I haven't been in touch with anybody there in a very long time. But now we got a similar situation with this chupacabra creature. What the devil is it? Where did it come from? What's it doing here? How did it get here? And why is it only taking these specific items from animals?
I have no idea.
Yeah. So
you're the expert. Why?
I'm the expert.
Sure, you're perplexed too, huh?
Expert is such a funny term.
Right.
Expert implying that one knows everything there is to know about a subject. Now, I could, if I tried really hard, I might be able to be an expert in my field of martial arts, but I do doubt it at this point. With the chupacabra, boy, we have truly such a limited information on this creature. And I think that's part of the reason why you wind up with a situation like you do in Elmendorf, Texas, where this mangy, pale bluish canine is raiding the chicken coop, and somebody manages to shoot it and yells chupacabra. It's because they don't know. The information has not gotten out enough in the populace to understand what, quote unquote, at least the original chupacabra, looks like, does, what its MO is. So, and I'm really hopeful that Monster Quest will do a good job with this. And it's going to air July 13th. So,
that was one of my questions for you.
Okay.
This is going to be on TV, on History Channel, right?
Correct, on the History Channel. I'm hoping that it's international in scope, because I really want this information out. I really do. Because it could very well be that there's legitimate chupacabra activity going on that's not being reported. You know, that's one of the issues that you have in almost any paranormal topic arena, especially ufology. Reverend, today it's been calculated that only 10% of all UFO sightings have been reported. Now, of course, with YouTube, you know, with some of these video sites, you're getting some real interesting stuff being posted. But then again, there's not any particular investigation going on with that.
Yeah, you also hear there's some really good CGI getting posted on YouTube.
Exactly. Yeah, that Haiti UFO video clip is one of the big ones of that. Now, going along those lines, we're kind of deviating off of the topic matter a little bit, but as a ufologist, I'm real curious about this dragonfly-like drone thing that's been being reported for, what, about the last year or so?
Yeah. I mean, some pretty clear photos and drawings and stuff like that coming out also.
Mm-hmm. I'm real curious. You know, and it's so sad because we're in the damned if you do, damned if you don't category. For years, you know, whether it's MUFON or whoever, they're saying, you know, let's try to get some good pictures of these things. And just as soon as I'm going to give you, Guy, a clear picture of a UFO, somebody's going to say, well, that's too clear. That's got to be fake. Okay, so what do you want me to do, guys? You know, I was able to last June invest in a high definition camera, and I use that. I take that with me when I go on investigations, just in case. You know, and it's like, well, I don't want to hear this is too clear a video. You must have faked this video. I don't want to hear that. If you guys want evidence, and I get the best quality, you know, item that I can to get the best quality picture, and I manage to get something on tape, don't turn around and tell me it looks too good. Field of ufology needs to figure out exactly what it can or can't accept as evidence.
Let's finish plugging the two features that you've been discussing so far. We got probably 5 or 6 minutes left. I want to make sure I got this right, that on History Channel, July 13th, 2008, you'll be appearing on the program Monster Quest.
That's correct.
And that entire program, if I'm not mistaken, is dedicated to the Chupacabra.
That's my understanding. That's my understanding. And some of the footage from my documentary will also be featured in it. So.
And that was kind of the second thing I wanted to make sure that you could plug and tell about, is about your documentary.
Certainly.
Where do we find that?
How long is it? You will find it. I periodically play it on my internet television station through my website at www.its-dms.com. And for those listeners that want an easy link, they can go to your website to my information, and you guys have a link up for that.
Right. Live from Roswell.com. Joseph Palermo is in big blue letters, and that link will take you there.
Yes. And from that homepage of my website, select the city that is closest to you. I've got viewing screens for the 50 top populated cities in the United States. Pick the one that's closest to you, and that will take you to a view screen where you click on the image to start the live stream video going on. We're doing live streaming now, and it's like every few days that I'll run a tape loop that includes Chupacabra: The Legend Begins on it, and that's a free view. If people wish to purchase a downloadable copy, they can go to itsdms.com and email me, and I can send them information on how to do that. And I think it's like listed at $3.50.
Okay, so for $3.50, it's not like you've got to spend $24.99 on a DVD.
Well, no. I mean, what I've done with the pricing is I've because it's a digital download, I don't have any inventory. I don't have any copying. I'm taking the manufacturing costs that typically go along with a DVD don't exist for this. So I'm able to give it, because I want the people to be able to have a copy, to be able to, those who are interested, to have their own copy that they can study. And that's what I'm trying to make it affordable to anybody and everybody, because we get people visiting from all over the world to the website. And what seems like almost too good to be true price here may be,
yeah,
you know what I'm saying.
Huge if you're,
yeah,
if you're working in a sweatshop for 50 cents a week, yeah.
Exactly.
So, okay, so it's linked from livefromroswell.com, ITS dash, finish it for me?
Oh, sure. DMS, DavidMichaelStephen.com.
Okay. And again, do email me, but so I can announce to people, History Channel, July 13th. The program will be Monster Quest. But I definitely, if you remember to email me, I'll definitely plug it a week or two.
I will do that.
In advance.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I want as many viewers to be able to see this, because I'm going to be very anxious to see what additional information they dig up from their trip to Puerto Rico. The producer did mention early on that he wished that they had the budget to take me with them down there. They just didn't have it. So, doggone the luck.
Oh well. Well,
it's a
you'll
beautiful
get to see
place
yourself.
to visit. It really is.
Just take it from someone who's actually been on the History Channel for like 30 seconds, and they hacked what I was saying into pieces. Visit alienstranger.com for my whole comment on that. They even took it out of context. But you'll love it when people come up to you and start saying, "Hey, I saw you on TV last week." So, it'll be the bomb.
That'll be fun. That'll be fun.
Yeah.
But you know something interesting, Guy? Everybody that I have talked to here in the area that has seen Monster Quest, and most of the people are somehow involved in paranormal research, they all love the show. They say it's very balanced. It's truly not pro or con. It truly leaves it to the viewer to decide. And it wasn't that long ago that many people in ufology swore off of doing any of these programs again because of the end result. This is the first television show that I've heard of that people are going, yeah, we really like that. So I'm hopeful.
Good. All right. Monster Quest on the History Channel, July 13th. You'll see our guest tonight, Joseph Palermo, discussing chupacabras. And you can visit his website and find out more. We are actually at the end of the program, so thank you for joining us here tonight, both Joseph and our listeners. And like I said, I am out of town next weekend at retroufo.com. So I hope anybody that's out there near the Landers, California area can join us out there. Come up, say hi to us at the table. I'll be emceeing. And in future weeks, we're going to have some people that are going to be appearing in Roswell this summer, probably including Mike Barra, who with Richard C. Hoagland is co-author of the book Dark Mission, discussing on this program and in Roswell this summer the occult history of NASA. Well, I'll have a date for him very soon once we get it pinned down. But looks like that's the end of the program. It was short. Thanks for listening, and thank you especially, Joseph, for coming on tonight.